Uh, and we're live for the Fan Cam show, and we've got Chris here first. Chris, I don't really. Like, I was gonna say, let me get your thoughts for the game, but it was just so poor. It was just so poor. We had a poor performance against Burnley. Come against Newcastle. I understand Wolf is not playing, but I mean, it can't get any worse than that. 2-0 against a Newcastle side who played poor all game long. It hurts. It really does hurt. But this has happened in the past, and I'm not that surprised. It's just annoying at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to digest after that. Like back-to-back performances against teams that, you know, are a similar mould to Palace and sort of stature and things like that. I'm expecting, if not the performance, I'm expecting a result. 2 defeats, it's hard to take. And, you know, I've had a little flick on social media the last 10, 15 minutes and I can see Roy's getting a lot of hate and stick. And, you know, I'm normally Mr. Positive.
You are.
Yeah. And I look, I think, you know, let's move on to a bit of Roy, because I know you're going to ask the question, is Roy like the right manager for us? I still think he is. I don't see any managers out there that could take us to the level where I think us Palace fans are expecting a lot. Like, we're in a situation where we've got a squad, a really, really good squad. And I don't think us fans and even the manager know the strongest 11 that we could put out. And even with the strongest 11, I don't think we know what formation to play as well. Like, we saw it today against Newcastle in the second half, and then the latter stages of the game, we saw a different Palace actually attacking sides. And then at the end of the game, look where that got us. Like, we got 0 points from the game.
But surely there must. I mean, we can't get worse than this, Chris. I'm telling you, this is probably. Let us know in the comments, but I think this is one of our best squads since we got promoted to the Premier League. So if we can't do it now, then when can we do it? And what hurts me the most is that when Roy leaves, I am scared that these players are going to leave with him, and we're going to look back and we're going to say, wow, what if we actually tried? What if we actually tried to go to them and attack them? You know, it hurts. It hurts because I'm just watching now. I don't know what he said, but he's just talking after the game. But it's just not good enough. It hasn't been good enough since, you know, last season.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. I think the board probably look at the end position, like, you know, as a whole, and I think they probably look, we survived another season with 14th, 13th, or whatnot. There's money in the bank and build up the academy because the potential's there at Palace. But you're right. Currently, we have got the best squad ever. And I think that, you know, when the players do their interviews as well, there's a lot of trust in the manager. Like, a lot of the players trust the manager, but us fans, we're not trusting the manager. Like,
I don't believe it, though. I'll be honest, sorry to cut you off, but I don't believe that. You know, they're speaking to Palace TV. Of course, they're not going to say, I don't like Roy. Which player comes out there publicly says that they don't like the manager? So I've said this last season as well. I just feel like these players, when they come out there, when they do say that, oh, Roy's experienced, we like playing for him. Look out there, Chris. If you're a player and you're playing like that in that system, are you going to enjoy that? I mean, yes, we don't have Zaha there, but you look at Eze, you look at all types of players. We're just not playing football. We're playing walking football.
Yeah, I get worried about Eze maybe not like fulfilling his potential under a manager like Roy, but let's be real. Like, under Roy, we've had some fantastic results. Like, we beat United earlier this season 3-1, and that wasn't just a result. The performance was there for 98 minutes. The performance was there. Like, teams go through blips. Like, we are. I know it's not easy on the eye, and I think if anyone watched the interview before the game, I think you could sense Roy was getting annoyed with the question about possession and things like that. Possession doesn't win you a game of football. But what does worry Palace fans and what worries me is the lack of creativity. Like, you know, you're right. Like, we have got a really good strike force. But then today we play Jordan Ayew and Schlupp, who's not an out-and-out striker. Like, they're two players very, very similar. So then I do question the manager's tactics on that, because we were crying out for a striker. We went out and got Batshuayi. And to be fair, when Benteke's been coming on this season, Benteke looks lively. But how do you fit all these players in a starting 11? I certainly think if Palace went, right, we're going to go 5 attacking players, like Batshuayi and Ayew up front with Eze, Zaha and some other person, we're going to be too exposed at the back.
No, I don't think anyone's saying that though, Chris. I think the squad that we got out there. When you look
at people's team suggestions, a lot of people are going, yeah, this player, this player, this player. Like, there's a lot of popular choices out there for all these attacking players to play. And we're not a Man City. We can't go gun-ho. Like, I think Roy's just a very conservative manager.
Okay, so when you look at today, let's talk about the lineup of the game. Did you think it was right to drop Gyro?
No,
I didn't understand that.
No, I didn't understand that. But to be fair, Kiate, he did have a good game, I thought, today. But I didn't agree with it. I did question that.
Yeah, and then you look at Jeffrey Schlupp up front. It was something different. Benteke hasn't been scoring goals, but just in general, we're not getting the best out of the squad.
Yeah, my worry, even watching the game, was the problem with Ayew and Schlupp up top. Like, at first, because I like Schlupp, and Schlupp's, the commentators said it. I think when there's like your fully fit 11, you struggle to fit Schlupp in, but then you realise actually he can play lots of different positions. I just think with Ayew and Schlupp up top, I think what Roy was probably thinking was those two players work hard. Like, without those two players, if we play Benteke and Batshuayi up top together, they're not going to be coming back as often as Ayew and Schlupp does. But they're too similar. We didn't have that other outlet until Benteke come on, and by then we're just going for it. Like, no one can question. We did create chances in this game. Like, the keeper pulled off a couple of good saves from Schlupp. Like, the first half, the keeper did make a blinding save. But
they had better chances though. You have to think. You look at the first half, you can say that they deserved this result based on what we saw from. They had more clear-cut chances, and if they had a decent striker, which they did in Callum Wilson, who didn't get them opportunities in the first half, and it all fell down to Joe Linton, then even in the first half, this game might have been different. But look at the second half. I just want to talk about player performance. Everyone's going to be talking about him, Scott Dan.
Yeah.
Burnley, he didn't have the greatest of game. This game, I don't know what's going on with him. He just doesn't look like the Scott Dan we know of. Looking forward to the next game against West Brom, which I feel like it isn't a must win when you look at the league table. But I feel like if we lose that game after losing against Burnley and losing against Newcastle, everyone's going to go crazy. So we do have to win that game. Do you start Scott Dan? Do you change anything going ahead?
So I like Scott Dan, but I think he's just there because he's like on a bit of merit. Like, he's scored a goal this year and whatnot. We don't know how fit Tompkins was. So for me, my first 11 centre back, or starting 11 centre backs, would be Tompkins and Cahill. I think you definitely see Cahill's leadership and qualities. Like, it was unfortunate with the second goal, but Cahill and Tompkins for me would be my pairing. But it's a hard one. I still think PVA. I think Klein's playing well at right back, to be fair. I think he's looking more and more.
The thing is that we're not getting the results, is it? So no one's really talking about Nathaniel Klein, but he's improved. He's been improving as the games go on, which you'd expect because he didn't play that much football. But what about Mitchell?
One position though, I would like to just flag up there at the moment is in the goalkeeping position. Nothing wrong with Guaita at all. He hasn't done any massive mistakes, but I do question his kicking sometimes, and like his distribution and his thought process on that. And it'd be interesting to see what's going on behind the scenes with Jack Butland, because even though Butland was playing, pretty poor for Stoke, he was a good keeper. So that could be just one to keep an eye on, because you want the defence to be sort of like comfortable and confident with their goalie. And at the moment, against two teams where I'd be expecting to get a few points, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Guaita command the area. So it could be something to watch.
Yeah, Michael says, time to bring back Tompkins. Where was Mitchell tonight? That's the one thing that baffled me. All right, you're going to start Patrick Van Aanholt, which I don't agree with, because I feel like Mitchell, he's as good as a player as Van Aanholt, but he's got the future. He's got something ahead of him, and we should be giving him game time. But the fact that Mitchell wasn't on the bench today was crazy in itself. I don't understand that. But just looking ahead in general, and the club's situation. How many? There are lots of players out of contract in June, and do you think there's a chance that because we're not playing great football, they're just not really interested? You're hearing Van Arno, he might be going to Ajax. Riedewald, his contract is out. Benteke, his contract is out. What do you do if you're Palace? Is it time for a restart with the squad because so many players' contracts are out?
Yeah, I think that's why Palace probably didn't go out for someone like Callum Wilson in the summer. Instead, they just got Batshuayi on the loan because Callum Wilson's a ready-made striker. All right, he's 28, 29 or whatnot, but he can score goals. I think Palace are probably getting by at the moment, really thinking about the future with the academy because you're seeing, on their social media, they're putting a lot more stuff about the academy, the under-23s, the under-18s, really trying to drive a focus onto that area because, like we've seen with Mitchell, there are youngsters around and they could be challenging for the first team. Now, obviously, with a manager like Roy, he's not going to play those. So that's why I'm saying, at the moment, I feel like we're in a Roy period. We're going to be there, but there will be a different shift eventually. And I can see us really growing some youngsters into the first team. So I don't know which players will not sign contracts next year. I don't know. I'd like to think Riedewald will because he's actually starting to play now. So I'd like to think he's a little bit happier. But people like Max Meyer, Benteke, I think, unless he has a good season or or whatnot, I think they'll be moved on. Mamadou Sakho, I think his time's up because this is the other thing. Like we're playing at home against Newcastle and we're seeing 2 centre backs on the sub bench. Like that's not cool. I don't want to see that. I'd rather have seen Mitchell or something like that, just in case there's an injury for a fullback.
Yeah, I'd like to see Mitchell start as well. Tower One Power says poor Cahill. Yeah, Cahill didn't have the greatest of game, even though he's coming back from injury. So I'll give him the exception. Scott Dan was just, in my opinion, he was just worse because I don't know
he's getting on now, isn't he? To be fair, he's on his last legs, and I think that he'll be another player that I think will probably be moved on because, again, like we've got some youngsters that are coming through that are really hyped up that we've managed to pinch from other big clubs,
like Scott Banks.
Yeah,
he's not even in the squad when you must beat him. I don't understand why he's not in the squad. Like, at least make the bench because Roy's speaking about him. Everyone's speaking about Scott Banks. He's playing good for the under-23s. So, it wouldn't hurt to put him on the bench because I don't understand the reason to have 2 centre-backs. You're not going to play, you're not going to make a 2 centre-back substitution in a game. So, put in an attacking player. But I have to ask you this because everyone's going to be talking about it after the game. Some people are already saying it. We haven't won... I think so. Someone said this. Robert said we won 4 of our last 19. We won 4 of our last 19 Premier League matches. What happens with Roy? Stay or go?
I think stay. I think me personally, it's stay at the moment. If we lose the next 3 games, so that's 5 defeats on a trot, then out. But stay. We're too used to. For me, what scares me about Palace is that if we get sucked into a relegation fight, who's a good manager to get us back out of there? Like Roy Hodgson is that man. Like,
is he? I don't think we're going to get in the relegation fight anymore. He done it first season. He done it first season. But this season, is it really that hard to stay up? Is it like you look at the league table right now? Fulham played 9 games, they only got 4 points. West Brom's played 9 games, they got 3 points. And Sheffield United played 9 games, they got 1 point. Like you're looking at 18th position for 4 points in 9 games. So it's really not that hard to stay up. And what is our objective? Are you happy with us just staying up? Because 8 years in the Premier League, surely, of course, there's going to be risk there of moving on Roy, bringing another manager, but surely it's time to actually go out and try and play and try and achieve something. I'm not saying go and win the league, but
I know what you're saying, but in a weird way, in a sick way, for me personally, and I'm saying this with a smile on my face, I enjoy going on the roller coaster with Palace. I
Okay,
enjoy.
I thought you enjoy
I'm,
Roy's football. I was about to say
I'm so
that.
used to it. I'm 33 years old, right? I'm so used to the roller coaster with Palace, and that is the excitement about being a Palace supporter.
Are
Like
you excited
nothing.
about this though? I understand the
Yeah,
roller
no,
coaster,
because
but
like,
this is not
no.
exciting.
I'm excited about the future because, like, you've just read the stats out to me about the teams that are in the bottom three at the moment, right? Even if
Yeah.
we lost our next 3 games, I still don't think we'd get relegated. I think there's 3 worst teams
Nah,
definitely in Palace,
yeah.
right?
We
So I
got a good
feel like
enough squad.
with this season, especially with COVID and everything, it's like, look, we can get another season in the Premier League, get more money in the bank, and then build for the future for the academy. Like, I think that's why Steve Parish, who keeps banging on about the academy and everything like that, and all the social medias on the academy, because it's exciting and it's like that's the future of the club right now. Let's be proud and happy that we're in the Premier League. We're not a team like Stoke, Portsmouth, like, you know, other big teams that have been in the Premier League for 8 years and then have just thrown it away. Like, I don't want to see those risks. I'm quite conservative with Palace at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. So you don't mind Roy staying. As always, if you guys want to come on and have your voice, I'll still be live. I'm going to soon talk to John. He's just loading up now. But Chris, thank you for talking to me. It's been an interesting conversation. Roy, let's see what happens after the West Brom game. Hopefully we get a win, but I'll definitely be asking that question if we lose that game, because then you're looking at losing against 3 poor teams. But you know what? Yeah. Thank you for joining me, Chris. Take it easy. Well, that was Chris. As I said, if you want to come on and have your say, make sure to message us on Twitter or even on Facebook, wherever you're watching this, and we'll send you a link and just come on and whatever's on your mind, whether you agree with us, disagree with us. John will be soon joining us and he'll be giving his thoughts. He's just loading up right now, but I'll get some of your comments. So Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield United worse than us. Yep, agree. I honestly, I don't think it's that hard staying up this season with the squad that we got. It's one of those things. Yes, Roy will keep us up, but it's not really that hard. They're so poor. Roy, please go, says Michael. Do you really want to rush back to watch that rubbish? I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not watching that rubbish back. Just chatting about it. And we will sell 2,000 for next home game. 12,000 people have signed up for season tickets, so we already sold that. So there will definitely be full capacity. Well, I hope so. It'll be embarrassing if 2,000 people don't go to the game. And we'll lose to West Brom when we play them because of the way Roy sets us up. You know what? Next game is big. It's not big in terms of us staying up and going down because, come on, let's be honest. Look at the league table. We're pretty much confident right now. But if we lose next game as well, then what? Like, what are we doing? It's going to be so toxic. And as I said, Roy is a lucky man that fans are not in the stadium, because once they're in the stadium and once we have results like this, things will get toxic. And at the end of the day, Steve Parish will not have an option because fans will just make sure their voices are known. Roy keeps us up, but at 16th or 17th place, hooray. Exactly. It depends on what you want. I came into the season with the expectation that Roy's going to keep us up because I know he will keep us up at 17th. There's worse teams. We got good enough squads and he's got that experience factor. But we're 7-8 years in the Premier League and 17th we're talking about. It's annoying. It gets boring. Like, I know it's not as straightforward as I want it to be. Like, yeah, you can't just go out there, bring a new manager. You're going to play great football. Of course, things can go south, but I'd rather we tried. We brought in Roy to keep us up. He's been there for a good 2-3 seasons. And now, you know what? It might be time to move on. Will Roy be there to keep us up? Well, it depends. I think some people will be suggesting that in December, Roy might not even be here if we're getting results like this because we'll be in deep trouble. But I think in the long run, looking at how Steve Parish has been in the past, I think he'll keep Roy. Benteke deserves to start next game. Agree. As I said, Benteke is not going to be a goal scorer, but we saw his influence when he came on. We were struggling to make passes, and every time we lost it as Benteke, he brought others into the game. So that's the main positive with Benteke. He's not going to score goals, but he's going to make sure he brings positives. Keith, I can't see this the tweet if you want to write it out for me, what you posted, but John is just joining right now, so we're going to have John here. If you're enjoying it, make sure to leave a like, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe as well. There will be no chanting. It won't work with everyone spaced out. And the lottery of who gets a ticket means it won't just be hardcore singing type of fans. Well, let's see how it works out. No one really knows what to expect. John, how's it going?
Hi there. Yeah, all right. A bit disappointed, to be honest, of course.
A bit disappointed.
Yeah.
More than a bit, man. Come on. I honestly, like, you can lose games, but I was disappointed against Burnley. And this game, I guess I didn't have much expectation because we know how Palace are under Roy Hodgson, up and down. But I personally felt that was just, you can't give any reason for that. I mean, you're at home against Newcastle who have struggled, and yet we didn't go forward. We didn't really create as many chances as I would have expected us to. Newcastle in the first half, they created chances, but what do you make of the game in general? Maybe you saw it differently. Maybe we're just unlucky in your eyes. I don't know.
I think we were unlucky, but that isn't to say that we weren't very sluggish in the first half in particular. Probably the first almost 60 minutes, I'd say. We had a few flashes in the first half and a few flashes at the start of the second. But it took us till the last half an hour to really get going. And yeah, you can say that's how we set up. We can say that's about team selection as well. But I'm still kind of disappointed, not just because of that, but also because we had chance. We should have won that game, actually. And Newcastle, no disrespect to any Newcastle fans, but they're a poor team. Like, I mean, obviously they're better than us right now because they beat us. But...
Yeah. They were poor throughout the game. Like, if you're looking at the first half, like, with all due respect, if it was another side that had a decent striker and it didn't land to Joe Linton every single time and it landed maybe to Callum Wilson, then you're looking at 1 to 2-0 down in the first half, in all honesty, because they created chances. We were so sloppy. But what was it? Tactics or players or combination of both? Because look at the defense. Scott Dan, he was really poor today. But tactically, going forward, they sat back, but we created chances, don't get me wrong, but we didn't create as much as we should have, considering that it's Newcastle who have struggled all season long, and we couldn't really break them down.
Yeah, I agree. I think I felt particularly the first half, it was both, but it was more frustrating about the players because I felt they were very sloppy. I lost count of the amount of like pretty easy passes that just weren't to another player, to nothing, or to a Newcastle player, and like at least 2 of their chances came from real sloppiness at the back. But having said that, there is a tactical element in that. Like, if you're going to play that system, why are you playing slop up front in that? Like, I
didn't like that?
Him as a no, I didn't. I much prefer him coming from a deeper position, and that's where I think he's at his best. So I thought that was straight. And why are you dropping Gyro? I don't know.
Let's talk about that, Gyro and Jeffrey Schlupp. So first of all, as you mentioned Schlupp, let's talk about that. I thought that was something different. I mean, he's not a striker. He's not an outright striker, but he's got the pace, even though that didn't really matter today because there was no spaces to run in behind. But Jordan Ayew hasn't been great, so maybe Batshuayi could have started alongside Jeffrey Schlupp. But where do you think Jeffrey Schlupp's best position actually is for Palace? You said deep, but is that midfield?
I think more sort of wide midfield, like basically coming onto the ball is what he's good at. Like, either driving with the ball, ideally wide, and then crossing in or possibly cutting in. I think when he was at Leicester, he was a fullback. So I think running onto the ball is what he's better at, rather than with his back to goal. And I know I hear what you're saying, that maybe strikers haven't been playing that well, full stop. So something different is good, but I mean, I feel for Benteke. I feel Benteke's played reasonably well, when he's had a chance. Obviously, he hasn't scored, but in that type of game, Newcastle are going to play really deep. They're going to play like Palace, right? They're going to play really compact, really deep. Look to hit the opposition on the break, especially away from home. So, like, we had everyone trying to, like, the only way to have any space from the players we had is to beat a man, and only basically Eze was able to do that. Fine. But like, if you got Benteke's going to bring others into play, and as soon as he came on, I thought, hold on, there's suddenly space opening up here, and Roy could have predicted that. I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And just looking at Aaron's comment, he says, "Tell me if I'm wrong when I say Eddie Howe will start 11 of Guaita, Klein, Ferguson, Tompkins, Van Arnold, Gyro, Maya, Eze, Wilf, and wouldn't get into the top 8, minimum top 10." Look, we have to talk about the managers. because everyone's talking about it. Roy Hodgson. You know, tactically today, I feel like it was same old, but it didn't work because we didn't adapt to Newcastle style, and of course we missed Wilf as well. But lots of people are talking about Roy potentially. You know, it's time to move on from Roy. What's your thoughts on him this season and at Palace in general?
Look, he's saved us. You know, like he's a Palace hero. Like what's sad is that we're having this conversation about him because you know I sort of would have liked him maybe to retire in the last season. You know, go out on not maybe a high, but so we could give him a really respectful send off. And if this continues, he is going to end up like leaving under this type of cloud. That'd be a shame, but we have to be a bit cautious around that. Not that we're the decision makers, but in what we wish for. Because I don't know who else we're going to get. Like, it's a big risk. Yeah, we might get...
Eddie Howe, would you take that?
Well...
Over Roy?
No.
I
no. Like, what? Okay, we're going to score 3 goals and concede 5. Like, yeah, that would be fun, but I think we're going down.
Do you think so? You look at the teams that's struggling right now: Sheffield United, Fulham, and West Brom, who we got next, which we'll talk about in a second. Don't you think that, you know what, like we've got good enough players just to stay up? And Eddie Howe, yeah, he's not the greatest defensive coach, but when you look at attacking players, if he gets the best out, Eze, Zaha, Batshuayi, Benteke, Townsend on his day, even though he hasn't had great performances as of late, surely you score more than you concede with that team.
Yeah, it's a risk, isn't it? So I suppose, is it worth the risk to have more?
Is it worth it? Yeah.
Football? And today, I don't think so. But another 2 weeks of this, if we lose to West Brom, maybe I'd change my mind and say, no. If there was some other manager that could give us a bit more solidity than Eddie Howe, then yeah, I'd be much more interested. But like
Benitez?
Looking at Bournemouth, I'd love Benitez. I'd have Benitez in a second.
Okay.
100%. But I think Eddie Howe, look at the Bournemouth team he relegated last year. Yeah, you could say he's been there for a long time, but they invested strongly in that team. They had a lot of good players, And yeah, this Premier League season we happen to have 2 very, very weak teams, and then like if Sheffield don't improve, they will go down with them. But I think it's almost certain those 2 are going down currently. And that West Brom and Fulham, and then so we'll probably get lucky. So maybe it's the season to take a risk, I guess, in that respect. But yeah, not Eddie Howe, please.
Not Eddie Howe. So not Eddie Howe, but Benitez. I don't know if Benitez will come to Palace. It depends on what we present him. But Greg says we have a 70-year-old manager managing a team that play like 70-year-olds. Well, Greg, we actually had we had the most. Let me bring the stat up, but Opta Stats said before the game how our average age of squad was one of the oldest in the Premier League so far this season. So, you know what? We've got one of the oldest squads, one of the oldest managers, and brings on to the next point. I said this summer that, yes, we brought in Eze, but personally, the recruitment, it was left open because we still need younger players. You're looking ahead now to the January transfer window. If you had to pick out one position, what position do you go and improve?
Wow, that's the only one. That's a tough one.
Well, you need more than one. But I'm just trying to be realistic because January, you don't really go out there bringing 3 to 4 players because it's like positions that you need urgently. Personally, what do you think of the right-hand side? Right now, we got Andrew Townsend and Jordan Ayew. He can play that as well.
Yeah, it's not the best, is it? I think ideally what I'd love is a midfielder who Roy's actually going to play, so can do some of the, I don't know, something like Decore, who can do some of the defensive stuff, but also sort of drives forward, and that would be, I'd love that. But also, I want to kind of basically an upgrade on Benteke. I'd like us to sort of swap our 18 centre backs that we have for just like 3 that are going to be the first choice, and so we'd have to like change every week who the centre backs are and pay however many hundreds of thousands we pay to Saka in particular, and yeah, a right-sided winger. Also, I suppose as part of that conversation, like where's Eze going to end up playing? Like, are we going to play basically him as a number 10, which is probably his best position, and so have him just behind the striker? Because if we're not, he's going to end up playing on the right, basically, I would say.
That's the thing with Eze. Do you think we're getting the best out of him right now? with where he's playing. He's not really. I guess he's got a freedom and he's going essential areas, but you can see it. He's more left-sided player. Where QPR fans, when he first joined us, they said to us how he should have the freedom, and he's not having the freedom. So it's one of those things where it's frustrating because you've got these players like Eze who are not even playing in their favorite position. But looking ahead to the next game against West Brom, look, I'm not saying it's a must-win in terms of relegation fight, but it is a must-win in terms of the fan base just being everything erupting. If we lose that game against West Brom, everything's going to go down south. But how do you see the game? Any changes that you'll make from this game?
I try and start how we finished in terms of, well, not the very end, not the last 3 minutes, but start as we sort of entered the last phase of the game, if you like. I think that was a lot stronger. I think you're right. Like, we have to not just win, but put in a sort of more dominant performance. Be in control of the game, be in charge, be scoring goals, be taking shots, be confident more than anything. I suppose the big sort of thing, one of the reasons why some people might not be jumping on the Roy out bandwagon is there isn't a feeling, I think, that he's like lost the players. I think the players still trying for him. But if that goes, and that might go, particularly you'll see that if we start getting rolled over by teams like West Brom, who are clearly better than in terms of individuals, then I think that will change in terms of Roy.
But look, you're saying Roy in. At this point, I'm lost with Roy because I wanted him to stay till the end of the season, but we're reaching a point where my fears at the start of the season is slightly coming true, where Roy is most likely to keep us up, but you're looking at the results, things can go down south when you're looking at the December fixtures and you're looking at very, very different league table come next 5 to 6 weeks when all the games are piling in. And if we play like this, then it's going to be a long season. Dominic says Zaha must be watching at home, going, why am I still here? Yeah, are you worried about that? Are you worried about players just saying, you know what, I've just had enough. I don't think I'm getting the best football here. I just want to move on to a different team.
That's what I was alluding to a little bit with what I was saying about why we need the confident performance against West Brom. I hope not yet. Like, of course, that's a risk that could happen. I wonder how much Zaha had that in his head from before. Not as.
He wants to leave though. It's pretty much out there. I don't think this Newcastle game is going to be like, yeah, that's it. We lost to Newcastle. Let's leave. He's wanted to leave for a while. And one thing that's been frustrating is that Roy's been coming out and there's been 1 or 2 occasions come up publicly and said, you know what, Zaha's not playing his A game. He wants to leave, which I don't understand. We can see how much we miss Zaha. Without that guy, we're not going to get results under this system, under Roy Hodgson. Even though we've got the good enough players, the system that we play, we just need Zaha in it because we don't get the best out of the players that we got.
I mean, it's unquestionable. You just look at the statistics. It's something like 14 out of 16 games he's missed, we've lost, and we haven't won any. It's crazy how reliant we are on him for results. But whether that's himself scoring, which is also this season really significant, or creating space for others. So, I suppose a bit of a difference between, obviously he's wanted to go. He wants and he deserves, in my view, like Champions League football. But there's like how he goes and when he goes and how he is until he goes. I think there's no question if there's a sort of suitable bid that comes in for him, he's going to go. But it's just what we don't want, and definitely I don't want, is like him to basically at some point just get dejected with playing in this Palace team, and that's the risk. I don't think the risk is whether he goes or not, because that's completely out of our control. If the bid comes in that's like good enough that he's going to go. But what will be really bad is if we get to the point that happens sometimes. Sometimes really naturally, he just loses interest in playing and like it doesn't keep playing for us while he's still here, and that would be the worst of all worlds.
I don't think it can happen under Roy Hodgson because that will scare me. I feel like we can adapt to play without Wilf. I feel like we could get in 1 or 2 players. We've got good enough players right now, and we can adapt. But if we leave under Roy Hodgson, then we've seen it. You know, it is worrying times. You're thinking, who on earth is going to be scoring goals? Eze might be creating them, but there's no one up there to score goals. And that was Zaha, who was creating and scoring goals. But look, John, it's been a good chat. I've been here for 35 minutes. We've been reading your questions as well. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you have, head over to our YouTube channel. If you're not already watching there, leave a like and subscribe. And leave down your comments on the game if you're rewatching it and it's not live. So yeah, thank you for joining me. And until next time, up the Palace.